Hello, my name is Kyle Power, and this is my presentation for NPA 593. And this presentation, we will talk about nonverbal communication as it pertains to public safety employees, more specifically, talking about body language. The job that I've been researching throughout this coursework would be a promotion from my current rank to battalion chief with the Los Angeles County Fire Department. We will talk about some interview tips as it pertains to an online interview format and as well as a live interview format for a promotion within the Los Angeles County Fire Department, although more realistically, the interview processes typically take place in a live setting with a panel. Some basic body language components that make up a good candidate for an interview process, or someone who has an appropriate command presence in an interview, specifically for a battalion chief position with Los Angeles County Fire Department, would kind of hit all the different things that we have on this slide. So eye contact would be appropriate, looking the person who is asking the questions in the eye, as well as having and making eye contact throughout the interview with the entire panel. Body posture to be upright, chest out, and be appropriate for the setting, which would be sitting in front of a panel, and which leads into not just your posture and how you're sitting, but your posture as you walk in the room, shaking people's hands, making eye contact, and then sitting down and beginning the interview. The body movement would pertain to less is more, being somewhat still and firm, and not tapping a foot or tapping a pencil or pen when you are trying to conduct your interview, because you want to allow for the least amount of distractions so that the interviewers can listen to your answers. An appropriate volume of the voice as you carry through your answers to the questions, as well as having an appropriate expression on your face for the questions that they are asking, as well as how you answer them. Now, this sounds very simple in theory, but to put all these together and to do it in a very tactful way, and when you're on the hot seat, is something that is definitely more difficult and takes a lot of practice. We'll talk now about the online versus live interview format and how each has different challenges when conducting interviews online or in person. The benefit for an online interview, which seems to be more of a trend with technology as it starts to advance, versus the live interview, which is the traditional way of interviewing. The online method gives you the power to control your own environment, but also gives you a lot more responsibility and things to think about on top of your interview. So it takes a lot of preparation. Some things you need to prepare and think about with online interviews is that you have the opportunity to make the first impression, a good first impression. And by doing that, you need to think about creating a professional setting. And if it is in the comfort of your home or office, you still need to be appropriately dressed and adhering to grooming standards relevant to the job that you're looking for. If it is in public safety, it would probably require a cleanly shaven face and short hair, at least looking professional and kept neat. You would probably want to minimize attire that would be distracting, and dressing in a black suit and white shirt so that the light colors can contrast nicely with the dark colors, as well as wearing a tie. So that you can minimize the distractions in the view of the interviewers, so that they can concentrate on how you're answering the questions and how you can make that impression. One of the things that was the most challenging for me with the online interview that I conducted this week for our assignment was the fact that the lighting was really difficult. In the room that I'm sitting in, it seemed to be fine, and then when I turned on the camera, it was not great. So taking the time prior to the interview to test out the camera, stage a background with a professional setting behind you, as well as finding the glare that may be on a wall or reflecting from a picture, or if it's reflecting off your face in a way that you can kind of manipulate the scene that you can control so that the interview is done professionally. They can just focus purely on your answers and the value that you can bring to give yourself the best advantage. Now, a lot of these tips carry over to the live interview or the traditional interview, which goes back to just all the basic steps of creating that good first impression. And when it has to do with public service or the job that I'm looking at for a promotion, it would require a great deal of command presence, which means basically having the right amount of tact and appropriate response that can escalate or de-escalate a scenario. In public service, I looked a lot at command presence and how it relates to public service. And most of the stuff I found had to do with law enforcement, and it very much does have to do with law enforcement, because how law officers approach, whether they're suspects or if they're people that are patients, their command presence and how their body language sends a message is how people are going to react to them. So it's very necessary to have an appropriate level of command presence or using body language effectively so that the public that we serve responds in an appropriate way. And in the same manner, in public safety, when I'm working and I am approaching an EMS call, a patient, or someone that has a behavioral health issue, I am reading their body language prior to having any verbal communication with them so that I can start gauging and matching a level of body language or my command presence so that we can treat that patient or we can help that person. Here are the references where I found most of the information that I researched for this topic of body language. Like I said, most of it has to do with law enforcement, as well as looking at the USLA, which is the umbrella of life-saving code of ethics and the rules and regulations and the national standards for public safety employees as lifeguards in the United States. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.